Hi, hello, friends, lovers, and enemies of the patriarchy. I know it's been a long time. I did film a video in October, and I didn't really love it, and also just could not get myself to edit. The reason that I have not been uploading, which hopefully you would know if you had watched some of my... Oh my god, I can't speak. Feeling really out of practice with this. If you've been watching my videos from, I don't know, the last like 2 or 3 videos that I uploaded, or have been following me on Instagram or on Twitter, you would probably know that I'm in grad school, which means I do not have any time, like literally at all. But spending all of my time doing schoolwork does seem to have paid off. 3 out of my 4 classes, I know I have A's in them, which is not a thing that I really accomplished in undergrad. I don't know what the 4th class's final grade is yet. If I get all A's, I'm throwing us an ice cream party. I hope you enjoy this setup because it's kind of, I don't really know if I like it even a little bit. Like, I kind of like it, but then I'm like, it's too busy. If you hate it, you can only tell me if you have a better suggestion. So this video is an idea that I came up with, like, it was the last day of my Women in the Bible class, and we were talking about sexual assault in the Bible, and we were talking about Dinah, who goes out to see the daughters of the land. And first of all, it's just an extremely gay statement to me, and I was like, that makes her so legendary. I was like, that's hot of her. Top 10 hottest women in the Bible. And so I tweeted, what if I did a video on the top 10 sexiest women of the Bible, except I spelled sexiest wrong, and I wrote sexist women of the Bible. Now, let's be real. The Bible is a patriarchal text. We know this. This is well established. The women, in my opinion, they're just used as plot devices. Like, they don't even really get to be any degree of person. So there's not particularly anything that you could say is sexist about them. Like, what would that even mean? Top 10 sexist women of the Bible. Like, there's just not even enough examples of, like, these women existing for there to be, like, example 101 of woman being sexist in the Bible. So now that I feel like I have sufficiently apologized for ghosting YouTube since, God, I don't even know, July? Let's get into it. I'm gonna go through the ranking, starting obviously at 10. Number 10 is Sarah. This is, unfortunately, like a kind of basic, kind of obvious choice. But the reason that Sarah is on this list at all is because we're literally told that she's beautiful. So, in Genesis chapter 12, verse 11, Avram tells Sarai, this is like pre-name change, we're going into Egypt, and do not tell the Pharaoh that you are my wife, because then they'll kill me, because you're so pretty. So tell them you're my sister instead, which, disgusting, they are actually half-siblings. Ew! Yeah, not great to think about. Don't want to think about it, actually.
I was disgusted, and then I moved on.
However, even though, like, they tell us that she's hot, she is still low on the list because she's racist towards Hagar. She's, like, pretty abusive to her. Racism is not hot. But I felt like I couldn't not have her on the list since they literally tell us that she's pretty. Number 9, Rebecca. So, Rebecca's literally the same story as Sarah. Nothing's original, not even in the Bible. So in Genesis chapter 26, verse 7, when they are like going to see King Abimelech, that's not pronounced correctly, whatever. When they go to see him, Isaac's like, they're literally going to kill me for my wife because she's so beautiful. So I'm gonna tell them she's my sister. Disgusting, maybe don't do that. And then King Abimelech is like, bruh, why are you making out with your sister? And then Isaac's like, sorry, I lied, actually, because I have to introduce the trope of not trusting foreign men really early in the Bible. The reason that Rebecca is number 9, why she's higher up than Sarah, is because she's not as racist. I actually couldn't think of any time that she was racist, but I'm sure that it's in there. I have not done a close reading of the Tanakh, and I don't think I will. However, she also gets bonus points because, and this comes from one of my present mentors, Amy Kalmanofsky, who has this theory that, like, at the Akedah, which is like when Abraham's going to sacrifice Isaac, she has this theory that Rebecca is like his replacement as patriarch. And so he's kind of like super submissive, and she's really like the one who's calling the shots. Like, she basically says that Jacob's gonna be the heir, and God like implicitly agrees. Like, he doesn't say anything or do anything, and then he like does the whole thing with the 12 nations and whatnot, and like making him Israel or whatever. Can you tell I don't like Jacob? And I really don't have much to say about him, and he's kind of annoying. Yes, Rebecca had 2 flop children, but she was in charge, and that is inherently sexy of her. Number 8, Dinah. So I did mention Dinah earlier because she does go out to see the Daughters of the Land, which is super gay. That's really the main reason why she's number 8, but also the rabbis thought that Dinah was trans. Wig, very cool of them. Or at least, like, not traditionally cis. Basically, the rabbis thought, well, okay, so here's the thing about the rabbis, is that most of what they wrote was just fan fiction. So they have their own little story that's like, Leah knew that she was gonna have another baby and it was gonna be a boy, and Leah was like, oh, my sister, she's gonna be so hurt by this. I gotta pray for it to be a girl. No. Also, they really, like, didn't get along. They, like, fight the whole damn time. They're not buddies. But it's not, like... And I didn't mention this with Sarah, but the rabbis do also, like, theorize that maybe Sarah and Abraham were tumtumim, which is one of the, like, 6 gender categories that the rabbis kind of, like, said existed, and like that they would have been something in between intersex and genderqueer, according to like today's English understanding. I didn't feel like this was a plus for Sarah, because it just feels like it's shoehorned in as like a theory, whereas this like has a little bit of narrative to it and like adds a little spice. However, she's still kind of low on the list because like her only independent story is where she's sexually assaulted, and like she doesn't even get to speak in that narrative. It like starts off by being like she went out to see the Daughters of the Land, and then she got yoinked, she got taken, sexual connotation, and then her brothers go and like murder because they're pissed off about it, and it's like, get a grip, please. But like she doesn't even talk, so kind of ruins the effect. Number 7, Bethsabée. So, Bethsabée is not that different from Dinah, like, let me be honest. Bethsabee's pretty infamously sexy. The story of Bethsabée and King David having sex for the first time is part of the inspiration for the song Hallelujah. However, that story is, yet again, another rape story, so that's like not really, it's maybe the wrong choice to romanticize. Maybe everyone should like get hip to feminist biblical scholarship and not just like write songs thinking that it's a love story when Bethsabée doesn't even get to fucking talk in that story, and it's like the catalyst for David's downfall because he then murders her husband, and then God's like, guess what, get fucked, and he sure as hell does. I did just write my final paper on this, and the professor really freaking loved it.
Did I read? Absolutely.
So, like she is kind of part of David's downfall, so that's kind of cool, but also she's not really. She's really just a plot device, which is really freaking sad. We do have this very sexy painting of her that's on Wikipedia, and I really like this painting. So, another fun fact about Bethsabée is that she's considered a Gevira, or Gebira, I don't really know, which is like a queen mother, and it's theorized that this like role in the royal court of Judah, I guess is what you would call it, it may or may not have been like a kind of cultic role, which is kind of cool. It's not just like you're the mother of the current king, it's also like you are a person of high status. That's pretty hot of Bathsheba. Number 6. Okay. Number 6 is an amazing woman. The Shunammite woman. So this woman shows up in, oh my god, I just wrote like 800 essays about this. I think it's 2 Kings 4. But basically, she's this cool ass lady who's like introduced as this well-to-do woman. She's described as Isha Gedolah, which means like big woman. Just kidding. It means great woman, which implies that like she's probably wealthy. And what's interesting about this is that she's basically like the foil to the man of God, who's the prophet Elisha. Basically, this woman's really fucking cool. She's really powerful. She like invites the prophet Elisha into her home, but like more than that, she like builds a little temple to him, or like a temple, and like the idea is for him to like come and stay in her house. So either she wanted to bang, which is my personal favorite theory, just because I think everything in the Bible is better when we are willing to admit that it's all horny, but also it could be seen, and I think like you can see it as both. I like holding 2 like somewhat conflicting ideas together at the same time when it comes to biblical interpretation. But the Shunammite woman like might want to become a prophetess, or at least like become closer to the divine, which is pretty cool. So Elisha is like, wow, I really need to thank you for like feeding me and also building me this nice little room, and doesn't listen to her when she says like, I live comfortably among my peoples. And he's like, actually, because you're a woman, you need a baby. And guess what happens? God's like, this man is an asshole, and I am mad that he did this because only God can create life, not this random prophet without my instruction. So the child has a sudden stroke and dies. Weird. And the Shunammite woman seeks him out. Like when she goes to find him, it's kind of similar to the way that like Abraham is described when he goes onto the mountain to sacrifice Isaac. So that's a thing to think about. Is she the first patriarch? She should be. When she goes to find him, it's described that she grabs him by the feet, but feet in the Bible are a euphemism. So she quite literally grabs him by the male appendage. She takes no shit. She's like so cool. She's awesome. She's just a legend. Like, she's so mad at him that she grabs him and is like, you did this. So what did he do? That's the real question. Comment down below if you think that the Shunammite woman and Elisha banged. Number 5, Delilah. Great name, excellent name. I mean, that alone would put her on number 5, in my opinion. But also, we are told that she's super hot. Samson's like, this is the hottest woman I've ever looked at, ever. Samson, he's a mess. I don't know if she's like his wife, or his girlfriend, or his side chick. I really don't know. Kalmanofsky says that Delilah is really similar to Yael of Judges 4, because like they both emasculate a man who's like seen as a warrior, and they both exist in this mother figure / deadly seductress role, which is my favorite role that a woman is in the Bible, and it's everywhere. It's like literally all you have to do is look. It's everywhere. Do I think that it has had implications to present day Jewish men? Yes, 100%, like 1,000%. Also highly recommend reading the Passionate Torah. There's an essay in there that's related to like the exotic other, like the fetishization, and that's also at play with Delilah because she's not an Israelite. So inherently, automatically, according to biblical narrators writing from, I don't know if you can hear that, but he is yelling. There he is. But we know Delilah's beautiful. We also know that she brings down this man who represents all of the failures of hegemonic masculinity within the Bible. So, like, queen, love it. We'd love to see it. And, like, obviously I stan any woman who is involved in bringing down a man. Like, yes. Like, I could watch that all day. But, like, right before she zaps his strength, she lulls him to sleep on her lap, like a mother might do to a child. Concerning and maybe a little disgusting, I think yes. Number 4. Finally, Rachel. I'm sure we've all been waiting for me to get to Rachel, and thank you for your patience. So, we are also told that Rachel is beautiful. Jacob works for literally 14 fucking years to marry her. Like, oh my god, get a grip. Like, I know that their father, Laban, is evil.
The Bible clearly teaches us.
You can never trust an employer.
But at the same time, Jacob has so many unresolved problems, and he bothers me to no end. So obviously we're told that she's beautiful. But Rachel also inhabits the same sort of, like, motif or theme that Sarah does, which is that in the Bible, if you are beautiful, you're infertile. There's lots of, like, wife-sister pairs, and this usually shows up there. The beautiful wife is barren, and the less attractive wife, or the non-favored wife, who's also usually less attractive, is very fertile. Hence why Leah's obviously not on this list. Also, she's got a bad personality. So, but also, eventually, when God does remember her, she has a queer son. That's hot and beautiful behavior. He's literally like a caterpillar. She's also high up on the list because she literally deserved so much better. When she told Jacob, like, why don't you care that I can't have kids? Like, I want kids really bad. He was like, it's not my fault. Women, they're just complaining. I don't know. He's, like, kind of really annoying. Also, she, like, in her dying fucking breath, named her second son, Son of My Affliction. And you know what, Jacob did? He fucking renamed him Son of My Strength. So I feel like if you name your child Benjamin, like, yeah, it's a good name, but oh my god, like, poor Rachel. Also, there are no good names that come out of the Bible. I don't even think that we should be naming our children for biblical figures anymore. Number 3, Yael. So I did kind of make a little bit of a reference to Yael earlier. She's kind of the best. Is Yael the best person to be in the Bible? Maybe, like, almost. Like, she's so good. So here's what makes Yael so sexy. She's literally another murderess. I mean, what more could you want? She also exhibits my personal favorite trope of the maternal figure / deadly seductress trope. This is all kind of part of this, like, little scene where Sisera is fighting Barack Obama.
Hi, this is my impression of Barack Obama. Michelle.
There's so much to be said here, but, like, this whole story is about emasculation, which is like, yes, give it to me. So Sisera literally runs away from the battlefield. Like, he's so embarrassed. He, like, is like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Maybe I should never have been a warrior. This was a big ass mistake, which correct. And Yael, like, anti-mothers him. Like, she invites him into her tent, which sexual connotations, and he asks for water, which is, like, obviously a life-giving substance, but she gives him milk, which also is supposed to be a life-giving substance, but in this case, it's kind of, it seems like a premeditated action that, like, almost foreshadows her murdering him, which is really interesting. Athalia Brenner, like, describes this as a symbol of false nurture and death. Spicy. She also, literally, she takes a tent peg and hammers it into his head. She murders him by penetrating his literal skull. So, obviously, phallic. However, the tent space is domestic and, like, coded feminine. There's so many layers. It's so good. But this reminds me of that, like, Artemisia Gentileschi painting where she's, like, cutting off a man's head with a sword. So good. So amazing. Also really interesting about Yael, and this is pointed out by Amy Kalmanofsky, who, like, attributes this to Susan Ackerman, who's, like, a well-known biblical scholar, like an older one. And she says that Yael's husband is a descendant of Moses' father-in-law, which means that this woman is connected to Moses, which is interesting. Also, that she, because Moses' father-in-law was like a priest of some kind. Like, she might have some sort of ritual function as well. Very interesting. And what I find the most interesting and like almost confusing is that she's not an Israelite. Like, she goes out of her way to murder this enemy of the Israelites. She's not an Israelite. So I guess, like, I'm confused why she's invested. Happy to have her in the story, but I'm just confused. Okay, number 2. This one should be an obvious choice. Miriam. Need I say more? Lesbian prophetess. Like, original waterbender. Everywhere she went, there was a well for the Jews to drink water from. Like, she's so cool. And also, I just know in my heart and my soul that she was really hot. And also, that's why she kind of just, like, vibed. She was also, like, the song leader. Like, was always going around with those timbrels and, like, led the ladies in song through the parting of the Red Sea. She's, like, the first time that a woman is ever recognized as a prophetess in the Bible. And there's only 5. So, pretty impressive. Also, she's just really cool. How many times can I say that Miriam's cool? Like, a lot of people will put, like, a cup for water on their Seder table in the same way that we put a cup for wine for Elijah. Because Miriam brought the water everywhere, it's, like, a way of thanking her because, like, she was an integral figure of the Exodus story and played a big role. Interestingly enough, Ibn Ezra, who's, like, this very famous commentator, I don't know when he was alive, it was a long time ago, he said that Moses taught the men Torah and Miriam taught the women Torah, which clearly, like, we don't have any evidence of this being anywhere else, so it's probably made up, but big if true. That would be really awesome. First female rabbi, question mark? And last but not least, number 1. I mean, do I need to say it? Number 1 is Esther. Legend, queen, light of my life, Queen Esther. So clearly we know that she's literally beautiful because they have a beauty contest wherein King Ahasuerus chooses her to be his new wife. Legend. She was also, need I say more, raised by a trans uncle, because within the Hebrew, it basically says that Mordecai was her wet nurse. Things to think about. And the rabbis were like, they didn't corroborate it, but, like, it certainly lends credence to that, like, we can't just throw out that possible reading. If, like, in the Talmud, the rabbis were like, well, if a man produces milk, like, that's kosher. So, like, if Mordecai could do it, you can't say that it's not allowed. Esther was literally raised by her trans uncle. She also prevented a genocide. So, literal anti-fascist queen. Because she was quite literally a queen, married to a king, but she also prevented a genocide, and she deserves everything. Also, interestingly enough, in the ancient world, and this is my favorite thing that I've learned, well, it's one of the favorite things that I've learned this semester. In ancient Israel, they believed that ethnicity and relatedness was transmuted through breast milk, which is a choice. I think it's so funny to me because it just feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Apparently, this is a thing that's very common in, I guess, like, cultures where people don't, I guess, have access to, like, the genealogical information that we have. I don't quite remember how Cynthia Chapman explained it, but she explains it really well about, like, why some communities, like, this is just kind of, I guess, like, what people naturally think. It's less blood and more breast milk. Interesting stuff. Also, I cannot mention Esther without mentioning the book that I checked out basically every single week of Hebrew school my entire childhood because I had a huge crush on this animated version of Esther. I think I was right to do so. I still think she's beautiful. I think if this woman could pop out of the page and be real, I would sell my soul to her. And, like, she risks her life to go and speak to her husband in order to save the Jews. Because, like, last time King Ahasuerus' wife, like, went up to him, he banished her. Like, poor Vashti. I would also have put her on this list, but I don't know, I feel like the other ones, like, you've got enough to say. Just love Esther so much. Anyways, this has been my official top 10 sexiest women of the Bible. If you disagree, you better come through with receipts, because I did just take an entire semester-long course about the women in the Bible. Again, I'm sorry that I've been away for so long. I am planning on doing a follow-up video to the Trisha Paytas video that I did, I don't know how many months ago at this point. Someone commented that I should do a follow-up, and I agree. So that's the plan. Yes, would like to promise more videos, but I don't think I can make any promises, unfortunately, because life is how life is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate if you did click on this video after me being gone for so long. Things have been going really well. I've just been really busy and stressed and in grad school. Feel free to like and comment and subscribe or do whatever you want. I appreciate it. I need to figure out a nice, concise thing to say at the end of my videos because I have not figured it out yet. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Whoa, whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how could I resist you? Mamma Mia, does it show